Hey everybody, I'm David.
I'm Jess.
I'm the husband.
I'm the wife.
And we are married.
15 to life.
Welcome to our home.
Yeah. Fancy.
Yeah, we put aside some money. We were able to buy
Equipment.
a little bit of podcast equipment. So now we can actually record our married podcast in our married house.
Just bear with us. We're still trying to figure out some stuff.
Yeah.
And, you may see things change, but.
Yeah. And eventually, as we are able to adapt things over time, the equipment will get better. The set will get better.
Yeah.
We'll eventually get the studio that you really want.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, bless Jess needs her own studio.
You
also get to have the pitter-patter sound, maybe a little off the mic of our dog walking around in the floor.
I hate that because she always does that when I'm filming videos. I'm like, Leela, you can hear it so loud in the camera. Maybe not in this, but in my camera, it picks it up.
Yeah, it definitely does a lot in that way. But we wanted to just, we appreciate you guys giving us a week off. The reason we had a week off is because you were not in the States.
No, I was in Mexico.
On a cruise.
We had the best time. We had the absolute best time. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, so we'll do a cruise recap.
Well, yeah, we'll have to do a whole thing where we talk about the cruise. But we had a wonderful time. I went with my bestie.
Yeah.
And it was so special.
And she doesn't think we can do it. I think, Jen, I need you on this podcast. I want to hear the girls talk. And I just want to sit back and ask a few questions.
Yeah, I don't know. It may be hard.
Yeah, but I think we could get her on the phone, because this mixer's been able to do that. I tested it with my mom while you were out of town.
Oh yeah.
And I had her call me on her phone, and I heard her in the mixer, and she heard me through the mics.
Interesting.
So we can actually do a phone call on this thing, which is great.
See.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, so we are in the process of getting our settings on this and getting it dialed in. But we wanted to go ahead and just continue where we were from the previous episode, and that is we are talking about our time in Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of good memories in Georgia.
Yeah, and so kind of where we left off was kind of the overarching 10,000 feet perspective, and so we're going to get more into the nitty gritty now.
I don't even remember where we left off
when it comes to everything. But one of the things about Georgia that made it unique was we were youth pastors, and I'd only stepped in and done a little bit of youth pastoring at our job in Texas in between the two youth pastors they had. While we were there, they had 3 people step in as youth pastor, and so in between 1 and 2 and 2 and 3. I came in kind of the gap and helped him out a little bit in that time frame. But here we are This is our youth group.
Yeah.
And so we stepped in. Do you remember kind of what you felt when the first couple of Wednesday services when we're in there with them?
I just didn't really, I don't know. I love teenagers, but we were older than them, of course.
Yeah.
But not that far removed.
Right.
But also in a totally different stage of life.
I had just turned 30.
I turned 30 there, so I was, late 20s into my 30th year. But I remember being a little nervous about it just because how do you relate, to a bunch of kids who aren't in the same stage of life as you? And we're also trying to juggle. We had very small children.
Right.
Lucy was right at 2. She had just turned 2 when we moved there.
Yeah.
And then Nate was 4, and just trying to navigate new school, new surroundings with him. I would say the early years in Georgia were very hard with him. Some of the hardest years we've had in terms of, meltdowns. And it was a lot. It was just a lot going on. So I was a little bit nervous about the youth group thing.
Yeah, me too. The biggest thing that made me nervous was just the simple fact that we were stepping into a role that I didn't go to college for, but I always go back to the basics on everything. People need to hear the word of God. Mm-hmm. People need to be prayed for. People need to be loved.
Yeah.
And we can do that for these kids. We can teach them the word. We can love them, and we can pray for them and teach them how to pray, how to read the word, how to worship, and all of that. And so, as always, being the worship pastor and the youth pastor, I immediately began going, okay, I don't want to lead you guys in worship every week. There's a handful of y'all that play instruments and sing. Let's form you guys into your own team.
Right.
And that way you can learn to lead yourselves in worship. And so we immediately began doing that very quickly. And before long, they were doing most of the service except for the preaching.
Right.
So I was very proud of them for that. We talked a little bit about the games we would play with them. I definitely remember anything we could do with balloons.
We always would do when we first got there to kind of break the ice, we would do a game, and they always loved that.
Yeah, we would do it for about the first either 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just to get to
disarm
everybody, the awkwardness of I'm new and all of that, because then you play a game, you kind of get to know people as you're playing the game.
So we pretty much had a game like every week.
Just about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we also had snacks and we had, fun times. And
teenagers love food.
Yeah. And we had, what I thought was relevant teaching. And I tried to package it in a way that was on their level.
Yeah.
With, things that they would respect and things that they would like. And I tried to also stay active on their social media. And if I could engage with them in their schools, I tried to. Yeah, this was still kind of at that level where the public schools were a little iffy about things.
Pre-COVID too.
So.
Yeah, I feel like at least the schools that we're around now are definitely more open to, people coming in. But yeah, you got into the schools a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah. And so, but one of the things that you do with youth groups when you get involved with them is, especially within the Assemblies of God, is there's 3 main things every year that you do with youth groups of the Assemblies of God. One of them is fine arts, which is always in the spring.
Which we talked a little bit about last time.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, where the kids have their natural and God-given talents, whether that's singing, dancing, playing instruments, public speaking, puppetry,
there's so many categories.
Writing, photography. Now they have stand-up comedy, they have rapping, they have
all kinds of stuff.
We'll
be here forever.
Yeah, we were. I think there's like 50 plus categories now. It's crazy. And so we would go and support them and watch them do that.
Yeah, that was always one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was always great.
Usually I would have to choose. I couldn't go to all of them because we had kids,
Right.
But about once a year, one of our parents would come and watch them so I could go. And usually I chose the fine arts one because I loved getting to see our kids.
Yeah. So that was always good. But then the second one that was absolutely must for a youth pastor is you got to take your kids to youth camp.
Yeah,
and that was
you were
always
on your own on that.
And that was always in the summer, and they would send out about 3 to 4 months in advance. Here are the weeks of camp, and you have these options for dates. Here are the speakers at all the camps, and then you would look at your timeline with your church calendar, and you would pick, okay, what's the week we're going to be going to camp? And you can't poll the students. You can't,
because everybody's
going to have different things. So, and the families are kind of waiting on you to make a call, because then they're going to start scheduling their summer trips and vacations around when youth camp is, because everybody wants their kids to go to youth camp. And so I would always pick that week. And then immediately, once we kind of knew when we were going, it's time to start doing fundraisers.
Yep.
Because youth camp is not cheap.
No, it's not cheap. And a lot of the kids couldn't afford
the full ticket.
So we would try to do fundraisers to kind of offset some of the costs for them, or maybe instead of, I don't know, what was the full price? Like $250, something like that.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money. And so if we could take $100 off, we could, it made it a lot better.
Now, granted, $250, that pays for your lodging, 3 meals a day, plus all the activities.
Yeah, you said food.
Camp security.
Yeah, transportation.
The speaker who's there that week.
Yeah,
so you're getting
activities.
You're getting a bang for your buck for $250, but still up
we
front.
Would do, and some kids would need scholarships, and we would have people in the church that would,
donate
sponsor
them for like $50 or all of it sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. So, yeah.
And so, but they would do fundraisers to get it, but then we would end up going. And the first year we go, I got to go the same week as a youth pastor and his wife, who were veterans. They'd been like at every single Georgia youth camp since they were kids. And like the moment they got into youth camp age, they would go every year, and they had continued to go and worked at churches, and now they were taking their own youth groups to go. And so they knew how to do everything. And what made Georgia's youth camp a little bit different from other youth camps that I had been to as a camper, not just as a counselor, because I'd also done that in the past, but the other thing that made it very, very unique and different was the amount of screaming you have to do.
You probably didn't notice when you were a kid.
I did not.
David always came back hoarse.
Well, because here's the thing about it. When I was an Alabama camper and went as a teenager in Alabama, you scored points by winning games. You would play volleyball tournaments and basketball tournaments and field track and the fun games they have you play. And then the first, second, third place team would get points. And then, of course, they'd always hide some stuffed animals somewhere on the campground, and you're out, and you always have a group of your kids out trying to find them. And I don't know how in the world, always the bad kids who want to get away from the counselors will go, I'll go find the stuffed animal. And then they get into who knows what while they're out looking around.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Funny story. Me and David actually went to the same summer camp. We don't know who knows if it was the same time, but we were much different people.
Yes.
I did not enjoy summer camp at all.
I love
I pretty much
camp.
hated it. So I didn't want to play the games. I didn't want to do any of that stuff.
You just want to sit in a corner and talk to your friends.
Oh, I wish they would have let us. They kept like making us go out there in this hot, and like I hated it. But you were the one that was all about it. So.
Yeah, I was team captain over almost every single thing, and including human video competition, which we won because I love doing human videos. And so we would, really try to focus our attention on just making the experience fun back then. Well, now as a counselor, and now as a person who is got my own kids, so many of the spirit points are coming up with chants.
Yeah.
And coming up with being loud and who can be loud at the table. And the camp carburetor, we call him, which is, the guy that makes everything work and runs all the games and all that, the organizer. He's got a bullhorn constantly going, all right, 500 points for team 4 or whatever. And also first night you get to pick your team color, your team mascot, and it's always themed. So sometimes it's the Avengers. So we're the red Incredible Hulks. I know the Hulk is green, but you pick your color, and you got stuck with whatever mascot it was. And so, we ended up getting, I forgot what we were. And I think we were the Sprint, because they're doing phone services. And it was about being like in connection with God.
I don't even think Sprint is even around anymore.
It was telephone companies, because the whole series the week about was being in connection with God.
Okay.
And having reception to hear God's voice, kind of thing. And so we were the red team and we were the Sprint. So the red Sprint. And so what this youth pastor and his wife were good at was taking secular jingles or secular TV show themes or secular song lyrics and repackaging them to fit our camp and fit our theme. And so I thought it was really funny just watching their brains go. And I'm like, well, this is something I can do. I rewrite songs all the time. I parody secular songs into worship songs all the time. And so his wife and I would put our heads together. We would start working on, fun things we could do with the kids. And of course, then you try to come up with, okay, who in here can draw? We need you to make our flag look cool. Who in here is a good, rapper? We need you to come up with freestyle stuff. When we do our chants, you freestyle, and then that'll give us extra points. And so literally every day is a war session, trying to come up with how we can come up with these fun, creative things. And then, of course, like I said, you're doing sports, you're doing volleyball, you're doing basketball, you're doing the big.
You're walking all day.
You're walking all day,
David
up and down the hills.
Came home so worn out,
so sore.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in order they had like what basically looked like a huge football field at the bottom of a hill, off in the trees, disconnected from everything else, and that's where all the big activities were played.
Yeah.
And so their strategy was, we're going to walk the kids down here so we don't have all this mess right next to the buildings. And also it makes them have to travel there so we know where everybody is, and, if there's somebody that's not there, they know, well, they're not here. We got to go back up to the campground and get them. There's no kid that can just sneak 4 feet away and get locked in a building. They all either are here or they're back there. So that's kind of their strategy. And I mean, so many memories, so many fun activities were played. Do you remember any youth camp games you played or had to play that you really remember?
They did like the Hungry Hippo one, I think, where the girls were. There was one they did it involved some sort of trash bucket or something on people's head. I don't
Bucket
remember.
head.
Oh yeah, they put it on their heads.
They put 5-gallon white buckets on their heads, and they had to run at each other. Concussion City.
We had so many injuries from that, they had to cancel that. And I like that kind of stuff. I just hate it. Like, try to put a bucket on my head and make me run. No, like I was not that type of person. Yep. But there are people that were like, we're gonna win, and so they're running into each other, and I never understood it. This
was the first summer that the big inflatable sumo suits had come out, and so like they were trying to play with those. And then I'm sure all of you have seen them now, but like the game where you put on the big inflatable thing and you play soccer. Like you get inside the big balls and you push the balls with your hands. Yeah. You look like hamsters inside of a ball. And so they were trying to do that, and you're trying to get your people across lines or whatever. They had a huge tarp covered in soapy, sudsy water with a whole bunch of different sizes of foam balls. And you had to run out, get as many as you can, and get them back across your line. I know it was just nonstop fun.
Oh, yeah, they have to keep them busy.
And then the water wars. You have to get one person wears a white shirt, and everybody else has color. And so
I'm guessing it's not the girls that are wearing white shirts.
Well, it's whoever you could. And the whole point of it is whichever team at the end of the game, their shirt has the least amount of water spray splatter.
So they're wedding girls that have white t-shirts?
You can't wear just the white shirt. You have to wear something else underneath it.
Okay.
But like, so our youth pastors, our leader, his wife wore the white shirt because she's so skinny. And so she took it and she wrapped as much of it as she could up into a ball and held it close to her. And so everybody's running up and spraying her with their water guns. And some people have yellow water, red water, whatever your team color is. And so then at the end of it, all the people that are wearing the white shirts come out and they unroll their shirt. And yet, like the whole front of her shirt had nothing on it.
That's funny.
It was perfectly white. And so, of course, we won points for that. And that was a recurring game I think they did every year, and they called it the Color Water Wars. But we did that. But the biggest thing about youth camp, which was just, the reason everybody has to go to youth camp, is the evening services.
Yeah.
They don't hold back. The worship is always top notch. They don't just get some ragtag, bunch of people that have never played together. They bring in either a seasoned church worship team that's really, really good, or they bring in a kind of up and coming worship artist that knows how to lead worship, and they really put on a great atmosphere and great vibe, and then the speakers they bring in are always great. They're always evangelists or youth pastors, and now that we're here doing this, you'll be able to see Layla more.
Layla's crying. Layla, say hello. She's licking the microphone. She gave you guys
hello, Layla. So now Layla can be on the podcast at time. So we have all these different services, and every single night. Typically, I mean, sometimes God will move it on the evangelist's heart or the speaker's heart to do things a little differently. But typically, do you know the order of the service themes every night? Can you quote them?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Night 1 is salvation.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't been to youth camp since I was like
even back
14.
when we were. But if you think about this as I quote it, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that definitely is it.
See, I only went to youth camp as a young teenager, and then we had a youth pastor that came that started taking us to Beach Freak.
Okay.
And Beach Freak is totally different.
Yeah, I want you to talk about Beach Freak here in just a second. But so night 1 is salvation night. So for all the kids who are here who need to rededicate their hearts to the Lord or who have never given their heart to Jesus for the first time, night 1 is all about that. Night 2 is all about how to follow Jesus. So it's about, okay, now that you're saved, these are some things in your life you might need to have to give up. These are things in your life that maybe are not going to be good for you. When you go back to your school or go back to your family, these vices you have, or the way you have an attitude with your mom and dad, or maybe the way you are always trying to be this kind of person at school. And now God wants you to be an example of him and show Jesus in your life wherever you go. That's what night 2 is all about, putting aside the old person and becoming the new person. Night 3 is Holy Spirit night. So night 3, it is all about if you want to receive more of God and receive all that the Holy Spirit has for you, and you can be baptized in the Holy Spirit, and we talk about that. Night 4 is all about your commission to go out in ministry. And night 4 is typically when a lot of people feel the tugging on their heart. God's calling me.
I love how Layla's staring so intently at you while you talk about this. How the intent. She's invested.
Yeah, how God could possibly be calling you to be a pastor or be an evangelist or be a missionary. And a lot of people, when you are at the district council, because they always at district councils and sectional councils, they're always raising money for youth camps, and like we want to make our buildings better and our camp better and all of that. And one of the things they always ask is, how many of you in this room felt the call to ministry to youth camp? And hands go up everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it definitely is worth the investment to have this kind of a theme for that night. That's typically what every night is, and a lot of kids can do it. But the cool thing is, if you're an evangelist or a pastor who really seeks the heart of God, and you're not just phoning it in to be at a youth camp, they will try to come at it and go, I know this is kind of the theme, but how can I present it in a way where they don't see that that's the theme? How can I talk about it in a way or read a story from the Bible that's not blatantly obvious? That's what we're talking about tonight. And sometimes they'll even switch the nights up. Mm-hmm. So some nights they'll do salvation night 1, they'll do Holy Spirit night 2, or they'll do call to ministry night 3. It just depends on what the feel of it is. But so that was all the camp experiences that I went through. There was only one other that was kind of very different than that, but that's a rabbit trail I don't want to chase. But you said,
what you're even talking about. Well, that one that you went to,
the warfare camp, where like they made you feel like you were in the military the whole camp.
I don't even know about that.
Yeah, I did that when I was like 14.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I hated regular camp.
They literally treated it like military. They were all nice to you and cordial to you until you crossed through their camp doors, and then he turned into a drill sergeant, started yelling at you, threw you out of the trailer they were hauling you in, made you get on the ground and do push-ups.
What camp was this?
This was like a camp down in central Alabama. It was called Spiritual Warfare Camp. where you're in the army of the Lord. Satan wants to destroy you. You've got to learn to fight back.
My gosh.
Yeah, I mean, it was intense. It was really intense. But I got called to ministry at that camp, and the services were bar none. Wow. Worship was great. The people were praying for you were great.
Wow.
Everything was great. But talk about Beach Freak.
Yeah. So I had a certain youth pastor. I forget how old I was. I was, through middle school into high school. And we had gone to the district camps, which were put on by our denomination. Which
were very similar to what I just described.
Right. And I mean, the same kind of course, he's talking about Georgia ones, but we both grew up going to Alabama, the Alabama one. And then when we got a new youth pastor, he started taking us to something different, and it was at the beach. And it was a totally different summer camp. And I liked it so much more. Like I said, I'm not into the teams and the games and all that mess. It's not enjoyable to me. Now, some people really liked it. But what was different about Beach Freak is it was just, there wasn't as many activities. It was more chill. You kind of got to do what you wanted to do. You would have to get up, normal time, kind of like any summer camp, and eat breakfast. There would be like one morning session. It would be like a, little class. It wasn't like an intense service or anything.
Right.
And then you would have several hours there was the beach. It was Panama City Beach. It was beautiful. Or you could there's pools everywhere. They did have I think some arts and crafts, but really it was.
And they rented out a complex, right?
Well, it's at this place that does retreats and stuff. So they rented part of it out. And then after dinner, they would have service, and it was always so powerful. They had a great worship team and great speakers and stuff. But I just loved it because it truly felt like you were getting away from everything. It was, you were kind of more tailored to what you like to do. Mm-hmm. If you like they would get rowdy in the pool and play games and stuff. If you like that atmosphere, a lot of times with
beach volleyball, beach soccer.
Yeah, they had that kind of stuff. I really started going mostly, I don't even know if I went ever as a camper or whatever they call it. I went mostly as a counselor because after you turn 18, you were that age. And there was a street that you had to cross to get to the beach, and you had to be a certain age to be able to cross that street without an adult. And I don't think I ever, because y'all know, if you know anything about my story, I had a very traumatic teenage years. And so there was a lot of summers that I didn't get to go to camp or anything.
Right. So
I went mostly to Beach Freak as a counselor or leader or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I just loved it because I really got to know the girls in my cabin. We would sit around and talk. I even trying to think how many years I went. I can't remember, but several.
Yeah.
And I always really enjoyed it. And then I remember my brother Clark was there one year as a camper when I was there. And anyway.
Yeah. So that was that. And I mean, and I've talked to the guy who helped organize it and helped start it, who was your later youth pastor before you graduated. And
that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah. And he even said that the biggest reason why he and all these other youth pastors got together and said, we need to create something like this is because of we hate that all youth camp has become within the denomination. Now, it depends on how your denomination handles it. But Georgia, I saw this for sure. And it was even the point where the last summer, I came to the girls and the boys who were seniors. And I said, this is y'all's senior year. This is y'all's last camp. Do y'all want to go back to where y'all have always been? Or would y'all like to go try Beach Freak? And
oh, sorry. Hold on.
So it's okay. While she gets the phone. So you probably need to put it on vibrator or airplane mode. Okay. So I came to all the girls and boys who were seniors at the time, and I just asked them and said, would y'all like to go back to where y'all have always been, or would y'all like to go down and try Beach Freak? And I said, here's the reason why. Because Beach Freak is all about spending time together and spending time with God. Youth camp is all about scoring points, yelling until you can't speak anymore. And then at the evening, you're so tired and you're so exhausted that the services are great, but that's not the central thing of all of it. Now, we want you to have fun, but the central focus seems to be, winner, chicken dinner, who can get the shirt at the end of the week and get their own ice cream party and all of that. And so, and again, it's the same thing going back to, the who has the most giving for the year and all of that. I understand the healthy competition and the incentive and the challenge of, be the best and step up and show how great you are and how much team spirit you have and all of that.
Anything, it probably started it as, a little competition. And then every year, it gets a little bit more and more competitive. And, and then it grows.
And then it gets run by people who grew up in it. And they're like feeding into that even more. I want the kids to be more horse than I was, And so, I completely get it. And so we just came up with the, the mentality of, can we play with it? But of course they wanted to go back, and I'm fine with that. And so the summers of 17, 18, and 19 were when I took these kids to camp. 17, like I said, I was not in charge. I was helping another youth pastor and his wife who had been there from day one and knew how to win. And he even said, every camp I've come as a leader, I've won. Mm-hmm. And so I don't want to start now. And so they won that year when I was there with them. 18 and 19, he and his fiance then moved over to Rome, Georgia, and left their youth group. And so they had a new youth group. And so the district youth director called me and said, now when you get here, I want you to lead the team. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what in the world are you about to ask me? Because I remember now thinking, this dude hardly slept. This dude had to be the guy that came up with all the chants. He was responsible for not just his kids, but he was also partially responsible for all the kids that are from all these other youth groups that are in the same team as your team. And you got to keep your schedule intact. And so the only thing Jessica will tell you, and those of you that know me well, we're like, well, David, you're cut out for that. You love organizing and you love running games and all that. Yeah, I do. But as a youth pastor, my main objective to be there is to be with my kids.
Yeah.
And to be there to pray with them and ask them questions and hear their conversations and really watch them get closer to God that week, because there is, and the biggest thing that we tried to, and we can talk about this a little bit, is I wanted to go and help them not fall into youth camp syndrome.
Yeah. Which we've seen so much.
Which this is, and it's not just youth camps. Adults do this with retreats and conferences, revivals. And kids do this with their kids' camp or their kids' events. And that is, you're away from the world. You're away from real life. You're away from your house. You're away from your friends who pull you into all these things. You're at this secluded place, alone with God and alone with a bunch of other people that for the most part want to be there and want to encounter God too. And so you get so juiced up and you get so excited about God and you get so excited about worship and you get saved for the 400th time and you feel the call to ministry in your life and you come back so high on what God's done and you come back reading your Bible every day and praying every day. And then about a week or 2 weeks later, you trail off and remember the person you used to be, and those temptations start coming back and that home life starts coming back and getting back into that routine of not reading your Bible and not praying and starts creeping back in. And if you don't know how as a youth pastor to help your kids be like, look, when you leave here, these are the things you need to do so that you don't fall out of that. Don't let this just be the top of the mountain for you. Let this be something that helps equip you so when you do go back, maybe you don't have the youth camp experience every day, but bits and pieces of it you can still have to where you don't go back to the person you used to be. And I don't know how many of your friends
I saw that
too. Yeah.
Because it is like you get away from, it's just like with anything else. Like in your marriage, you get away on a trip and it's amazing. You really get to focus on each other and, you have all these dreams of how the future is going to be and how date nights are going to happen and all this stuff.
And then you see her when she wakes up in the morning.
No, but then you get home and there's kids and there's life and there's everything else. And it's easy to kind of drift apart again.
Right.
And it's the same kind of thing with all these trips. It's hard to balance that. And I don't know. I think it's naturally going to happen some, but.
Yeah. And so we just tried to help them navigate that. And so the summers of 18 and 19, I was the guy. And so I was responsible for all these things. And I just remember so many nights being like, I'm going to kill somebody before this week's over. This kid will not stay with me. This kid will not stop running his mouth. If I hear that same question for the next time, I'm going to kill somebody. And he's
just kidding everybody. David is so patient.
You pray for grace.
Yeah.
And you equip your student leaders to step up and go, hey, look, y'all been here. Y'all know. So help me navigate these people. Help me so that I can do what all they're asking me to do. One of the bright spots of the Georgia Youth Camp experience, though, is the pool. Their swimming pool is amazing. Mm. It is deep. It is huge. It is so much fun. And swim times are always great. The food's actually good.
Okay, what I also liked about Beach Freak is the rules were not as strong on bathing. So this is what irks my nerves to no end. We would have separate swim times for boys and girls, which is stupid, in my opinion. And also, we had to basically be covered like crazy. Like only one piece is only, and it's like you're in there
and going to and from the pool, you have to wear
have a cover up.
Yeah.
And it's just annoying. It's like I feel like they put so many rules on the kids that
teenage hormones can't handle.
And it's just like you're making the line so like, so strong. And it's like I would always be like, why do we have to have all these rules when we already can't swim with the boys?
Right.
And so because of the different times, your time is cut in half. And we would only have like an hour to swim.
If that.
I don't know how it worked there, but I would always be so annoyed. I'm like, and so at Beach Freak, they would say, we don't want to see parts.
Yeah.
But as long as it's covering you, fine. Mm-hmm. And I liked that way better. Yep. Like, because these kids, if they go to a pool party, they're going to see their friends in a bathing suit.
If these kids have access to the internet, they're going to see more.
So it's just like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes we can draw a line that's just unrealistic.
I mean, but I get it. You're doing what you can to protect them. But like Jessica said, I mean, there's protection and then there's absurdity.
Yeah.
And I mean, and I get it. If there's a chance that somebody's suit could come loose, or something like that, that's one thing. And so you want to be extra cautious about that. Also, I think it's the rules for the parents, not the kids.
I don't know. I thought it was stupid that if we were having to be segregated, then we also had a dress code.
I know. I'm just saying.
I don't know though. Like either one, like do one or the other.
I'm just saying we haven't sent Lucy off to one of these yet. I'm assuming the rule is to put the parents' mind at ease that the boys are not going to see your girl in a bikini.
Well, we weren't allowed to wear that anyway. Yeah. Like even like because I was big on like tankinis. Like it looks like one piece. Yeah. No, you couldn't wear that. It had to be a full, and it was just like so many rules that I honestly I don't understand it.
Right.
But
yeah. So anyway, we got through all 3 years of youth camp, and then the other thing that you got to go to one of them was fall youth convention.
I don't know if it was that one I went to. I thought it was the spring one that I went to. I don't remember.
If the only thing you went to was the thing in the spring, that's just fine arts.
Okay, well then it wasn't that.
The fall youth convention, which I got to go to 16, 17, 18, and 19, was always at one of the biggest churches in the state. They always brought in a guest speaker, guest worship team, and not just a, like I said, not a youth camp quality, like an upper echelon, really good worship team, because you're playing in a church, and the services are always amazing. It's typically a Friday night, Saturday morning, maybe early Saturday afternoon, and then you're home. So it's just one night.
Like
It's just a short weekend. But it's so powerful, and the services are very intense and directed towards getting to the heart of every youth that's there. And what I love about it is that you really get to there's moments where you really get to have real good conversations, like post-service. You'd go to Waffle House, or you'd go to Dunkin' Donuts, or a place that's still open, and you'd get everybody food, and then you'd sit around and be like, okay, what did God say to everybody tonight? And people will open up and tell that I felt God say this, or I saw this happening in the room, and all of a sudden I felt like somebody touched me, and I looked up, and you okay?
I keep sliding further and further from the microphone, and I can't scoop myself up.
Okay, well, yeah, please stay close, because for all of you, like, man, the audio on this is not great. We're gonna dial it in better and better, more and more that we do it. So just bear with me.
Hard behind me where I can't slide.
Okay, well.
Anyway, sorry.
We'll get you a chair that doesn't have wheels if we have to, but yeah, it's just really cool to watch people like really open up and be like, yeah, I literally felt like somebody was holding me, and then I would look around and nobody's near me. I'm like, you felt the presence of God. God was holding you, and so there's really cool things when they're it's like they're opening up and they're experiencing God for the first time. And I remember as a teenager the exact same thing, where it's no longer stories my parents told or prayers that were prayed over me. Now I'm getting to encounter God for myself. I know this God is real. This God really loves me. And so that's always encouraging to watch those kind of things really happen. And youth convention was really where a lot of that happened. Something else that we got to do, as well as be youth pastors, was we organized the children's ministry while we were there.
We did. And
you want to talk about that?
I started out just helping and taking a turn, because we had a lady that would do it a lot of weeks. We'd have our pastor's wife did it, and then I would do it. So we would kind of rotate through. And then towards the end, I started doing it every week because I really enjoyed it. And we created, so they were in this one big room, and they would do songs in there. You know, it was our fellowship halls where we did youth and everything.
Right.
And we would pretty much stay in that room the whole time. And then, what was it, like a year or so before we left, we created these rooms down a hallway, these small little rooms. And
we started breaking them up by age group into separate rooms year 2. Like we had the nursery and the preschool and the big kids. And the big kids stayed in the big room.
I'm talking about the big kids.
Right.
So, and by the time, I feel like Lucy, though, was in there with me. So she was probably 4, something like that. Anyway, we didn't always have preschool age, but sometimes we did. Anyway, we created this hallway, and so it had like an art studio, a movie room, game something, I forget, craft.
It was the art room. Because we decided we were going to have a theme, and we called it the Kids Studios. And so we had the movie studio, the art studio, and
I can't remember the other one.
Oh,
because it was the bigger room.
Oh, and then it was Studio 210 for ages 2 and under. It was Studio 345 for the preschool age, and then it was Studio 612 for 6 to 12.
Yeah.
And so that was the other room.
So what was so great is instead of being stuck in one room for an hour and a half,
you could rotate the rooms.
We would take the kids to different rooms, and it was so nice because it just, with kids, like attention span is a big deal. And it just really helped to break up the time. And we would go, so everybody would go to the movie room to watch the lesson. And then we would go into the art room for a craft. And it was really fun. It was super rewarding. I remember, I still remember so many of those kids that we had. And at that church was also another special needs family. So we had 2 special needs kids.
Right.
And that was so great to go into a church that already was used to another special needs child. And they really did love Nate. They loved him, and he was so cute, you guys. I mean, he's cute now, but oh my gosh, 4-year-old Nate, 5-year-old Nate running around. Everybody just loved him, and I don't know. It was a super special time. I loved being in the kids' church, and pretty much right before we left. I mean, let's see, I got pregnant in 2019, and wasn't it? And
because Mark was born in 2020.
I'm trying to think what time of year it was when we found out we were pregnant. But anyway, so I got pregnant, and we knew, I wouldn't be able to do kids' church while I was super big pregnant and into having him.
Right.
And then COVID came, and that's a whole nother story. But I just remember I would do some songs and worship with you, but I guess towards the end I wasn't doing that. Do you remember?
No, you didn't do worship with me like the entire year of 19. Yeah. Because you were all in with the kids.
I remember the day after we found out we were pregnant, I did a worship set with him. And I remember feeling like so lightheaded. I will never forget that. So at least I did one. And then I think they needed me more. I always felt so bad because the pastor's wife was having to do some Sundays. And I'm like, she needs to be in. Yeah. She also had a beautiful voice.
And she wanted to be with her husband.
Yeah.
I mean, she loved kids ministry too, but.
Yeah. So I pretty much just took that over for her. Yeah. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And we tried to organize it like we talked about, how when we have a curriculum, we print out everything in advance. Jessica's big on, I don't want to print out week to week. I want to print out all the weeks.
That way you just, it's done. And we would have it in a folder. And so when the teacher, if it was me every single week, I would know I got to go in, I got to get this one folder. Everything I need is in there.
Yeah. And if you're like, well, I don't teach for 2 weeks, can I go ahead and see it? Yeah, it's printed.
Right.
You can go see it. And
the curriculum we used was so simple. It was really great, but it's so simple that even if you did not prepare anything, even if somebody was just to walk in that wasn't ready, really, they had to fill in for somebody or whatever, they could do it.
Yeah.
It gives you every single thing to do. And so that was really nice to have that. The kids loved it. We showed the lesson, in the movie room. We did the songs. Yeah. We built a playground while we were there.
Yes, we did.
We raised money for a playground so I could take them outside and let them play. So we really moved those kids all around.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was great. The kids enjoyed it, and we really tried to make it, because we learned a long time ago, if you can grab the kids, you'll grab the whole family. If the kids, people will put up with okay worship, and people will put up with okay preaching. But if the kids come out of their classes going, Mommy and Daddy, I can't wait to come back next Sunday, they're going to put up with all that, and they're going to bring their kids back next Sunday because the kids are having so much fun. And so we just have always made kids priority, and
And we
ministry.
even had kids that were bussed in.
Yeah.
That we would pick up in a van and bring them, and that was
Right.
so rewarding because
Sundays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, and we also had they had a food pantry at the church, and they also would get bread from Publix. And so after church, we could like pick out any bread.
Whatever bread
they
you
would have
wanted.
all kinds of bread and desserts and stuff. I'll always remember that. But it was always these kids would come in and they would be hungry,
Yeah.
and they would just be like desperate for love and hugs. And I just remember it being so rewarding, even though we never really saw their parents, just to get to love on them a little bit, feed them.
Yeah. It was really, really great. And a lot of the opportunities we had to, really talk to the families and really talk to the parents and the teenagers and the kids. We just formed so many great connections and moments with people, and you get to watch these young teenagers become seniors in high school.
It's crazy.
And literally when we got there, they were entering their sophomore year, the oldest group that we ended up with. And when we were done, they were graduating that spring.
Yeah.
They were the class of 2020, and unfortunately 2020 was taken away from them.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were so great. We love those kids. I still see them on Facebook and Instagram all the time, and I always say happy birthday to them and just say, hey, how you doing? And just really watching them. And at one point, they had a storage trailer out next to the building, and
it's like the last year we were there.
And Pastor Donald came to me and said, we need to do something with this thing. Right now it's just been a storage trailer. And so I grabbed it and converted it into a youth hangout. And so we did black lights and ping pong tables and
Wii
and had the Nintendo Wii in there. That was my personal one. I donated it and said, I never play this hardly anymore. You guys can have it. And so we just converted it into a hangout room. And there were a lot of youth services where we would have the whole service in there as just a hangout night. And it was a great opportunity to bring people, to more of a disarming atmosphere where there's gonna be food and games and, things like that. And, we did s'more nights with them, and we cooked s'mores on a fire outside. There was one time, you remember the Easter egg hunt game where we stole from Big Brother?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, everybody got their own personal egg, and your job was to go hide it. And then everybody would leave and go look for as many eggs as they could find. And if your egg was the one egg that didn't get found, you got a grand prize.
Yeah.
And people would just keep going out till they found all the eggs. And then finally, like the last egg they got found was the hardest one to get found. And so in the order of which they got found, the less the prize was.
Yeah.
So everybody thought that was a really fun.
Yeah, that was fun. I forgot about
thing.
that.
Yeah, because the object is to hide and find all the eggs. And so the object is to go out and hide your egg, but find everybody else's egg.
Right.
So that was great. But we really, really loved our time as being youth pastors. I kept trying to think in terms of being on the worship side of things. I mean, it's nothing that I haven't. I mean, just watching our teens get involved. Our teens were half the worship team.
Yeah.
Because I trained them, and our drummer was a youth. Two of our background singers were youth. One of them played keyboard also. I taught her how to play better keyboard. Had one kid that learned to play acoustic, and one kid that learned to play bass. There were several times on like one or two Sunday mornings a year, we called it, because when we first got there, they had a name that was odd.
What was it?
Fusion.
Yeah, that's right.
Because we're fused with God and we're fused with each other.
It was weird. We were like, that's a weird name.
And when you're fused with God, you have a reaction.
Yeah.
I mean, I get the thing.
It's kind of cheesy.
But I just kept going. I'm like, guys, nothing wrong with the name and nothing wrong with the previous, concept of it, but that's not who we are.
Yeah.
I said, we're more of a family. We're more of a unit. What we do is we look out for each other, we protect each other, we fight together, and all these kind of things. And so we changed the name to Tribe.
Yeah.
And said, we found our tribe.
Yeah.
This is our tribe. Mm-hmm. And so what we would then do the following year after that, and everybody loved the name change.
Yeah,
they love the shirts, they love the core values. I did a whole series on the core values of our tribe, who we are as a tribe. And then when about 2 services a year, usually for Speed the Light Sunday and Youth Pastor Appreciation Day, or whatever the day was, Pastor would let us take the whole service. I would preach, they would lead worship, and we would call them tribe takeovers.
Yeah.
Where the tribe has taken over the service.
Yeah.
And it was I just remember having such fond memories of watching these young people, step up and really be leaders. with the exception of a couple who we're not going to name names, but there was one or two of the youth that unfortunately did get into some pretty serious trouble.
Yeah.
And there was really not much we could do about it. There was a lot of
it's hard because that's such a it's a hard age.
Yeah, they're trying to find themselves.
Right. And we had a couple of, with any kid group, you're going to have your troublemakers and stuff, and all you can do is love them.
That's all you can do.
That's all you can do.
Yeah.
Pray for them.
Yeah. And it was, but when your kids, two or three of your kids are making the 6 o'clock news.
Yeah.
That's when it's,
I guess we can't just say that and not say what happened, but
yeah, but
we were on vacation and we got notified that the church had been burglarized, like badly, spray painted on the inside,
things stolen.
Your office had been gone through. Some of my personal stuff was there that had been taken. Just heartbreaking. Like it was more just like we feel violated. Like I feel like the tribe banner was spray painted.
Yes.
Like they sprayed like mustard and stuff over stuff.
Yes, they've spray painted swastikas and
it made the news
and I hate God and whatever.
And we realized after the police did the investigation that it was some of our own kids.
Yeah.
And that was really hard. That was so hard. That was heartbreaking. And I just remember the whole church just feeling so heartbroken over what happened, because you feel violated, you feel personally attacked. And then to find out it came from, people that you love.
Right.
That was super hard.
And it was the beginnings of what we're seeing very prevalently now of I don't want to hear the truth. And if you tell me the truth, I'm going to do what I do. And because it happened right in the middle of a series. I was on vacation, like Jessica said, but the Lord had really begun encouraging me to preach on identity and preach on that we are who God says we are, which talks about the identity of male and female, what marriage is, and the importance of understanding that God designed of a person, and how how the enemy's priority is to confuse us and makes us wonder who we are, wonder what our purpose is and who we are supposed to be. And it was just in the middle of that teaching series that a lot of my youth actually approached me afterward and said, this stuff you're talking about is really starting to upset some people because they think it's okay to go off and do these things and act this way because then that makes them popular in their schools. And I'm like, I understand that, but I didn't get hired here to tell y'all
the truth.
I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you what the Bible says. And so, it happened as a reaction to that, which now you guys, if you watch the news over the last several years of the intensity of, Christianity is becoming marginalized so much more, and people don't want to hear the truth. They want to live in their feelings and just do what feels good and change their pronouns every day. And I'm a cat today, and just whatever you want to get into. But, it's just sad. But that was the spirit we were fighting, and then we were trying to battle through that. And I'm just really, it was fun watching, all the good memories, despite those few bad ones we had, all the great memories of watching these kids grow up. And
it was very rewarding. I mean, everything that we have done in ministry has been rewarding in some way.
Yeah.
But to see teenagers, that was super rewarding, to see them grow up, to see them get closer to God, to get, that was, I will always remember.
We genuinely cared about them as if they were our own kids.
Yeah.
And they cared about us, and they loved us, and
we did a lot of fun
we
things.
did as much as we could. And it broke our heart when COVID was the reason we had to leave them, and we couldn't really,
that was such a strange time. It just all around, and super strange to us because we had just had a baby.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Thank God Mark was born in February, because COVID hit in March, April.
I know.
And so we would have lost all of that. I can't imagine you having that baby and I can't be near you.
I know. That would have been awful.
That would have been terrible.
That would have been awful. Yeah, we got to go through the birthing process, and I remember being in the hospital though and hearing about COVID, and they called it coronavirus, I guess. Yeah. And it was just something that they were talking about, like in China or whatever, and I didn't think anything about it.
Right.
But
yeah.
Little did we know.
Was there anything else as far as youth pastoring or kids ministry or anything that kind of?
The only other thing I can think of is that Georgia was the first place that I started organizing fundraisers. I can't even talk. Organizing lunches, and now I feel like I do that all the time. But
you do.
It's like nothing. But back then it was a challenge because I never had cooked for 50 people at once. And how do you organize something like that? And how do you organize? It's a lot more than you think it's going to be.
Thank God you have your mom.
Yeah,
who does it all the time too.
And I feel like the more you do it, the better you get at it.
You're great at it.
But it was a it's a skill. It's something you have to work on.
Yeah.
And we did several big fundraiser lunches and stuff that we would have to plan. And that really helped me for future things I did.
Yeah. All the guest speakers we brought in, when they would see how, because usually the days we'd bring them in, we'd have a fundraiser to like feed them lunch and let them see how active our kids were and our young people were. And almost every single time they would say something like, y'all do stuff for a church your size that churches 3 times your size don't do.
Yeah.
And can't do with excellence.
Yeah.
And so that was always encouraging, that we always
care,
and we
put
really
our
want
heart 100%.
everything we do is going to be done with excellence.
As best we can with what we're given.
Yeah.
And that was, a lot of it was taught. I mean, a lot of it's inside of us, but also just everything that we go through, you learn more things, you learn how to do things better. And, it was such a special time. I remember being pregnant and going through all those emotions again. I didn't know that I was going to be pregnant for the 3rd time. And I remember the baby shower they threw for me, and everybody just, what I love about the Georgia time was just, I felt very loved there.
Yeah.
We talked about last time, there was some things that we battled with certain people, but overall.
But even in the midst of that, that was not a slight against, we don't like you.
No.
That was just, this is the way we want our church to be.
Right. But like I said, I've had a hard time making friends here.
Yeah.
But there, it wasn't hard at all. And they were so welcoming. They loved our kids. I remember there would be get-togethers and lunches after church and different things that Nate would have a hard time. And one of the ladies would hold him and cover his ears, or one of them would take him out. And I really did truly feel like I had support there.
Yeah.
And there was like a VBS we did one year, and, Nate couldn't go through it like all the other kids.
Right.
But they were so accommodating to him, and they were so loving to him and letting him be a part. And, that's not something that I take for granted, because a lot of churches way bigger than them, they don't even know.
Right.
They don't even know how to do that. And we truly did feel like part of the family. And that was my favorite thing about Georgia. And I loved the pastors there. We still love the pastors there. Yeah. It truly felt like we had come out of a hard time in Texas, a really hard time. And it just truly felt like we had so much love and healing during the time in Georgia. And, even though we left when we did in COVID, there was no hard feelings at all. We have nothing but love for them.
Nobody wanted us to leave.
Yeah. And it just, it just was a really special time.
Yeah.
We loved where we lived. We loved the schools. We loved Georgia.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
So that's where we're going to leave off this episode. I think we can get one more out of this, and we're going to talk about my ordination.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that night. We could talk about some of the final days leading up to all of that. And I also really want to talk about some of the cool things that we learned in terms of assimilation, how to get people involved.
Okay.
And, kind of from the process of getting, membership going and all of that. And maybe we can even talk about some highlights as far as our kids, because our kids had some milestone moments there too. I definitely want you to talk about Nate's school and that atmosphere. But we love you guys so much. If you're watching this or listening to it, on an audio podcast platform, make sure you give it a 5-star rating. Leave us a comment and a question. Coming up here at episode 60 is going to be another Ask Us Anything episode. So we want your questions and your comments for that episode. And if you would please do that, if you have a long question or a voicemail you want to leave us, you can email that to us at married15tolife@mail.com. Again, that's married15tolife@mail.com. Sweetheart?
If you're watching on YouTube, definitely would help us out if you make sure that you're subscribed to our channel. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave us a comment down below and click the bell to be notified when we post new videos.
You tired?
I am not tired. My eyes just kind of itchy.
A little bit. Yeah, you got a little twitch going on.
Yeah, it's kind of dry.
All right. I love you.
I love you too.
And
I love Layla, who's napped the whole time in my lap. She's been asleep.
Except for the little pitter-pattering of her.
She's been asleep, guys. She's tired.
She's tired? Okay. Well, until next time, everybody, I'm David.
I'm Jess.
And that's Layla.
This is Layla.
I'm the husband.
I'm the wife.
And she's the dorky. And we are married.
15 to life.
Thank you so much for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.